Please recognize Representative Blackwell for a point of personal privilege.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. First of all, to set your fears at ease, this is a bill I'm working on, not my speech. But the floor leader did make a tactical error. She did not recognize me for my farewell speech, which is certainly under the time purview of the floor leader. She recognized me for a point of personal privilege, which cannot be interrupted and can go on as long as I feel like it. You can look that up in the rules if you want.
Point not well taken.
We are in a little trouble, though. My son is supposed to be here. He's pretty concerned about how long I take, and I told him I'd probably take about 20 minutes. And he said, well, here's the deal, Dad. If you go too long, I'm going to sneeze. So when Caleb gets in here, if he starts sneezing, you know it's over. So there's the timekeeper. There's the timekeeper right there. You know, for the past 12 years, it's been my distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to represent the great people of the Panhandle area. And, you know, it really does just seem like moments ago I was in the back there where those freshmen are, wondering what's going on, as they are today. And Frank Davis was sitting up here where Representative Denny is. It served 26 years, longer than some of you have been alive. And he told a story that I thought was worth remembering. He was sort of like me. He was passionate. He wanted to win. And he was so passionate against the bill the Democrats were running that he had a heart attack on the floor, literal heart attack. They called the ambulance. They took him out here. They rushed him to the hospital. They called his wife and his son. They jumped in the car. They come roaring down to the hospital at University Hospital. And they passed the Capitol. As they passed the Capitol, the wife just started crying, just broke down crying. The flag was at half-mast. And she said, he's died, it's over. And his son looked and thought and said, no, Mom, he's not. Government can't work that fast. And that's what I found to be true. Government just does not work that fast. He came back to the floor Monday, lost the bill. But one thing I've learned is it takes a while to change things, and that's a good thing. When I began to run, my wife up here, the gorgeous blonde next to the other blonde, Joanna Blackwell, she thought I was crazy before, but now she knew I was crazy when I said, I think God wants me to run for the House. And she says, no, I think he wants you to vacuum the House is what he wants. But after about 2 weeks of getting everything ready, I got a phone call late one night, and I went up to bed after talking to Jim, and she said, who is that? I said, oh, some guy from down by Blackwell. And she said, what do you want? He said, well, he called me to ask me to run for the House. And she just broke down, just bawling and bawling. I said, honey, what's wrong? What's wrong? She said, well, I asked God if he wanted you to run for the House to speak through someone else, because I know it would be hard to get through to you, to ask you to run. So I guess now you're going to have to run. And although no one thought I would win, it was interesting. I went out and worked anyway, because that's all I knew how to do, is just to work hard. And I took my daughter Carissa, the other gorgeous blonde up there, who was 7 at the time, knocking doors one time. And so I knocked on the first door. Saturday morning, she was just riding her bike around in the street and talked with the person about 4 or 5 minutes. Went to the next door, another 4 or 5 minutes, the next door 4 or 5 minutes. And then representing the next door, I knocked at, and she said, I'm busy, I don't have time to talk. Are you Republican or Democrat? I said, I'm a conservative Republican. She said, I'll vote for you. Shut the door, and that was it. And I walked down the street, and Chris said, Daddy, cut out all the other stuff and just tell them you're a Republican so we can get on and win. Well, at that time, that wasn't that easy, because my district had been held by Jack Begley, who served the Panhandle ably for 14 years, did a lot of great things, and then, but I was able to win that seat, and And I've served down here for the last 12 years, but I couldn't have done it with a lot of different people. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff that helped me with all the different bills. I know Brad Walmagot, Ryan Baird, Grace Shelton helped me. Kim Bishop is continually hiding her face whenever she sees me walk through the door because she knows I've got something else for her. But Mark Carter, Sue Durr, I mean, you can't get anything done without those people, and I just appreciate the great job they've done. Second of all, my LAs, Debbie Taylor was one of my first LAs after Tookie Hayes, my first year that I shared with another member. And then we've had Christy Deal the last 8 years that has taken care of everything. So I appreciate her. And if you need a citation done, ask her because she's the queen of citations. No one does it any better than her. I'd like to thank the sergeants, especially Joe, my son Carson. Carson is my, you can tell he's mine. Stand up, Carson. He's in 8th grade and takes after his dad quite a bit. He would love to go out with Joe and yell when we were voting on bills and roll call, and he loved to do that. So I appreciate the sergeants, what they've done. I appreciate the lobbyists who've helped me get bills passed. I mean, you hear about the big bad lobbyists, but I've found them to be a delight to work with, unless they're against my bill, and then they're the bad lobbyists. We have a special guest here I'd also like to introduce. Oh, John Treblecock, my seatmate. Yes, he's here. For 10 years we've been together through thick and thin. We started in the back. We watched with wonder at Mike Reynolds and Don Arms trying to get along and wondered what was going on. And except for a short hiatus of 2 years with Speaker Hickman, we started together. We're ending together. And I appreciate all John has done, except for the one time he opposed me on the nurse anesthetist bill. Other than that, it's been pretty good. Also, I'd like to thank especially my family that is here and all that they put up with driving. For 8 years, I simply drove 5 hours a day, 5 hours a week back, 5 hours here, 5 hours back. More recently, 4 years ago, we moved to Laverne so I could drive an extra 2 hours. So I drive 3 hours on Sunday or Monday, drive back on Tuesday, drive back here again 3 hours on Wednesday, drive home 3 hours on Thursday. So while I feel like I've served in the house, I've also served in my car quite a bit. But I'd like to thank my family, if you'd stand for the sacrifice that you've given. I get to hear. There's just two things I want to say, and have I gone 49 minutes? I think the floor leader said I had, if I went less than 39 minutes. Now, you owe me some time because 4 of my bills have taken no debate at all, so I'm taking that time back. One of the things is to get things done here. When I first came, the first bill I got done was a bus bill for my district, because back then you had to use the old Bluebird, that yellow type bus that was just horrendous to ride in, and all of my schools had 5-hour trips. So I got a bill passed that said, no, you can use those Greyhound type buses with the flat screen TVs and the nice relaxed cushioned seats that recline and everything. The State Department at that time didn't want it. Since then, I think I've gotten along much better with the State Department of Education. But he was in, I remember passing him and laughing to myself because he was in the office of the chairman in the Senate side to get my bill killed. He didn't know I'd just come from the pro tem's office, the president pro tem of the Senate, who gave me the assurance the bill would pass and would be heard, and it did. So I got my first bill passed. I was pretty happy about that. Since then, I've passed over 100 bills. One of the things I'd say is you have to know the procedures. And early on, I found this out because my freshman year, as I was leaving, not knowing what was going on, again, someone mentioned no one had mentioned the freshmen very much, so freshmen, I'll mention you again. Just sort of like our freshmen, not knowing what was going on. I heard A&B meeting of public safety. Well, I was on public safety. I looked at it wasn't on here. Well, I was a little mad at my LA, but being the kind person I am, I forgave her. And I said, I'll just go to the meeting. So I went to the meeting, and lo and behold, the guy presenting the bill wasn't there. He was supposed to be there. Well, he was a good friend of mine, so I called him and said, hey, the chairperson, Chairwoman Askins, is wanting you now. So he comes in. As he comes in late, he trips, big old file folder falls down. He's picking up his papers. He starts to present the bill. He says about 3 sentences, and that's the wrong bill, Representative. This is the bill. He had forgotten that folder. And so he sort of tried to explain it, and I said, excuse me, Chairwoman Askins, has this upper-class representative broke every rule on presenting a bill that you taught us in freshman orientation? And she said, yes, he has. And being the kind person I am, I feel a little bad about it, so I said, I make a motion, do pass. Do pass, second. All those in favor, aye. Motion passed. Okay, it carries. And we adjourned. And as I was leaving, Chairwoman Askins called me over, and I thought, oh, she's going to get on me. She said, Representative Blackwell, I just want you to know one thing. I said, well, what's that? And she said, you're not on this committee. I was on the Public Safety Committee, not the A&B Public Safety Committee. Well, the moral of the tale is the guy who couldn't present the bill, Chris Steele, became Speaker, and the guy who didn't know he was on the committee became Speaker Pro Tem in charge of the rules. One other thing I think you have to have is respect for others, and I found this out when Opio Touré and John Smoligo got into a little bit of a debate one time. And this is very interesting because I was at the back talking, and I moved up to that. By that time, I was a little bit further up. And Smoligo was trying to explain something to Representative Touré, and Touré was asking questions. Well, up there in the press box, they can't hear you unless you talk into the microphone. Well, what Representative Touré was doing was he'd say to the microphone, well, Representative Smoligo, I don't think this is really correct, is it? Then he'd take the microphone, put it down, and say, I think you're lying. And Smoligo's face got a little bit red, and this kept going on. You're not the one. And all of a sudden, now I was on 2 state championship wrestling teams, coached 2 more. One was a national championship team, and been to qualified for 2 national judo tournaments. So I can sort of tell when something's coming down. And all of a sudden, I saw Smoligo, and I thought he's going after him. So I zoomed up here, got right in Smoligo. Now Smoligo's a pretty tall guy, but when I stuck my nose into his chest and butted up against him, he tried to move. He couldn't move. I said, you cannot go get him. You can't get him. No. And he goes, okay, I'm not. I'm going to my office. Well, meanwhile, all the sergeants had come up to Opio's aid in case Smoligo got past me and rushed him. And their strategy, I found out, is this. They're not going to fight you, but they hit him because you couldn't see where he was. And so Opio escaped with his life. The second thing is don't lose focus, and I'm about almost done, Pam. So don't lose focus. Now, Caleb, my youngest, who came in, have you sneezed yet, Caleb? Okay, all right, okay. Caleb told me one time that he decided he wanted to go into politics like his dad. I said, well, good, Caleb. What do you want to do? You want to be a representative like me? No, I don't want to. I said, what? He said, you got to run every 2 years. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be president. I said, well, don't you want to start a little younger? Maybe governor, be governor. And he said, nah, I don't think governor would be such a good deal. Well, we're eating at Cheevers, and just then, who walks by but Governor Henry? I said, well, there's the governor right there, Governor Henry. And I said, my son's thinking about becoming a governor. He says, oh, yeah, that's a good gig. And Caleb asked him the key question. Do you have your own cook? He said, yeah, I have a good cook. He cooks me everything, whatever I want. He does everything. And as he walked away, Caleb looked at him and said, he doesn't look that good to me. So I finally decided I could tell Caleb he can't be president till he turns 35. So what are you going to do to then? He said, well, that's easy. I'm going to be a pro basketball player till I'm 35. Then I'll become president. So if these Thunder still are needing a point guard. He's going to take their place up there. So don't lose focus on what you're doing. Make sure you don't take something personally. And before we took the majority, Kevin Cox was here for, I think, 24 years, 24, 26. And he had a little notepad that if you voted against his bill, he took it out, wrote your name down, put it back aside. Well, Representative Gilbert tried to do something in his bill. I don't know if you know Representative Gilbert. Representative Gilbert was hard to describe, but he was from Tulsa. He was he represented his people well, but he tried to do something to Representative Cox's bill, and Representative Cox took umbrage at it. Now, Representative Cox was in his 50s, but he refereed, he was fit, he was in shape, he was top-notch, top shelf. And so after we adjourned, it's just fun to stay around sometimes when you adjourn. Everyone had left. Most people had left. About 4 or 5 people left, and Representative Gilbert was sitting over there where Representative Reniger was. And Kevin Cox turned to him and said, "Don't ever amend my bill again, ever." And he turned back around. And Representative Gilbert said, "I'll do it if I want to." Well, you can't do nothing. Well, Representative Cox had never heard anything like that. He turned back around and said, "No, you won't." "I sure will. Yeah, I will do that. Yes, I will." And Cox took over for him. Luckily, there were 2 guys there that grabbed him. And he was trying to get over them, and they go, "Get out of here, Darrell, get out, we can't hold him." And Darrell, "Why? I'm just going to stay here. He can't do nothing to me." He said, "Yes, he can, and we can't hold him." And luckily, someone dragged Darrell out, and they calmed Representative Cox down. But I noticed Representative Cox never voted for a Gilbert bill again in his life. The last thing I would say is just make sure you have integrity. That's the key thing. When you say something, when you say you're going to do something, do it. When you tell someone you're going to vote for a bill, or tell them that you've changed your mind. That's all you have out here is your integrity and your honor. And one of the first bills that I got off the floor here, I got off when I was in the minority. And this is a unique class that's leaving because we're the only class that will have served in both the majority and the minority, each one of us, both sides of the aisle. Well, Dan Boren was going to go to Congress, and I thought, well, that's good. He's passed the squirrel bill, now he gets to go to Congress. But I said, I knew there was going to be a procedural motion to lay my bill on the table, and I couldn't pass it because the Democrats that liked my bill would vote procedurally with the majority. And so I thought, and I figured out a way to do it. So I knew on Thursday, I told Larry Rice, hold my bill to Thursday. I knew on Thursday a lot of the people started to leave early. And sure enough, there was 2 Democrats that started missing votes. So I went by their office and said, "Hey, I need to talk to Representative so-and-so. Is he in?" "Oh, no, he's already home." "Okay, thanks. Check that one off. Check the next one off." So now we were down to the Democrats had 1 vote advantage. And so I went to Boren and I said, "Look, you're running for Congress and you're too chicken to even vote against your own party on some silly procedural vote?" I said, "You don't have what it's made of to be in Congress." And Dan's a pretty nice guy, but you could sort of see him sort of stiffen up a little bit. "What do you mean?" And I said, "Look, I got this bill here. You're for the bill. They're going to put it, table it because you don't have the guts to vote against your party. You're going to have to vote against them when you get to Congress. You show me, and more important, you show yourself right now, you can vote against it." He said, "Okay, I'll vote for you in the procedural motion." I said, You sure?" He said, "Yes, I'm sure." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Larry, I'm ready to go." It came up, OPO asked a couple of questions. Then he turned and looked at me and said, "I moved the table." The votes started going up, 48, 47, 48, 49, 49. And you see him counting. He turned around, and he was standing up here, and he goes, "Boren!" And Boren was back there where Representative Matthews was, and Boren just goes, "Nope." Tabling motion fails, the bill passed. And I said to Dan, I said, you got what it takes. You're a man of integrity. How sweet it's been, bittersweet. I'm not going to miss the procedure. It's been boring quite a bit. It's been entertaining sometimes. It's been frustrating most of the time. But I appreciate Danny Hilliard and what he said. You've made a difference, and that's what I charge you with, to make a difference. I just have a couple of going away presents, and I was wanting Pages to be here, so if you two Pages could come up. Maybe will you come up, okay? First of all, since I'm leaving Midwest City Wrestler, and Representative Inman has always talked about how much he just would love to get in a singlet up here and take me, but it's been a while. He doesn't have a singlet. I went to his mom and found his old singlet that he had the last time he won a match, and I have it here today. And so you keep this in your desk drawer. The interesting thing is, last time he won, he was a Republican. And this is for Emily Virgin. Now, I didn't tell about the first episode. Morissette and I had a little go around where he thought he couldn't sit down. I don't know if it was hemorrhoids or what. Well, late one night, but wanted to stand up, but he decided to sit down. But he has trouble sitting in his seat this time. He's not here. So what I've got is a rope. Emily, you can tie him down, tie him to his seat. So if you could give that. And we all know who drives the Republican majority. We all know that it's that whiteboard in Representative McCullough's office. That when we have trouble, when we have things we can't work out, we go to that whiteboard, boom, we solve the problem. The thing is, he's got good ideas all the time. And so, Mark, I've got you a portable whiteboard. You can take this with you wherever you go. Go ahead and give that to him. And lastly, there's a piece of cake in the lounge here. We're going to have a little reception here. If you'd like to come by and say hi, I'd appreciate it. But we got a reception. There's a piece of cake just for you, Mr. Speaker. He's probably back there, because without the class that's leaving, this job's really going to be a piece of cake. God has blessed me to serve the last 12 years here at the Capitol. It's been a great experience. I wouldn't trade for anything. I made great friends. I've cherished the memories. But the time, your rope's up here, Representative Morissette. I appreciate. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your friendship, and that's what I'll miss, is the camaraderie, the friendship, and continue to make a difference on both sides of the aisle to move Oklahoma forward. I have enjoyed representing the greatest people in the greatest district in the greatest state on God's green earth. Thank you very much.